Hit me!
Another Palindrome Show 353.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will.
No one listens to the radio. I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Radio's boring.
This is Mark Evan Jackson from everything. You're listening to NetHeads.
Thank you, Mark Evan Jackson, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another edition of NetHeads. So glad to have you here. My name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
There we go. Well, he's Mr. Your lower third says you're Mr. Marvelite. Don't this wait, I was looking to have a Marvelite, and you're telling me I got stuck with a Tony instead?
Listen, at the point where you said Will, I'm like, I gotta go simple. So
all right,
Tony.
Okay, we'll take your
at
simple
this point,
Tony.
my name's out there. Yeah, Mr. Marvelite, but my name is out there so much now with Nerd Initiative, it's not even funny. So let's go.
Speaking of which, thank you very much for joining me, Mr. Marvelite / Tony. If you want to find out more about him, it's at Mr. Marvelite on all social media, as well as contributor, runner, and all-around cool guy from the Nerd Initiative, which you can find at nerdinitiative.com. So be sure to check all that out. Mm-hmm. And thank you for returning, sir. Greatly appreciate it. Unfortunately, Trent was not able to join us tonight because he is essentially not snowed in, but worn out. The weather in Utah went south, and they had a lot of snow. And basically, since 10 a.m., he had been out shoveling snow. So by the time he finally got back to me, he's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I just got back in. And since I live in California, and at the time I was texting with him, I was standing actually outside because my shower was too hot and I just hauled some stuff from downstairs. So I was outside to cool off. I figured I shouldn't be an asshole and push the point. So I did not. What? I'm in California, dude. The weather's nice.
No. You just like you said, the shower was too hot, so you stepped outside to cool off. I feel bad for your neighbors.
Oh no! I didn't do it right away. I said I then brought some stuff downstairs. So,
okay.
Which, by the way, at least you're in a very. For those that don't know, Tony is on the other side of the country. He's over in Virginia. Is that correct?
Yep. Really close to DC.
There you go. And one of the things that means is that, of course, you get what I call real weather. Well, I live in California. We don't get real weather. But I don't know if you have the same problem in Virginia. But I notice one of the things I really look forward to about the winter, and one of the things that I get really frustrated about in the winter, is that, one, I look forward to the really steamy showers, right? Because I can't really get that during the summer. But the flip side, too, is that I always... during this time of year, it seems like there is just a veritable micro turn of my shower water between not warm enough and why is my skin scalding off of my flesh. And finding that fine point is just nearly impossible.
Well, see, I have one of those tankless water heaters, so we have it set at like 120 like all of the time. I don't mind like cool showers. I don't know what it is. And being in Virginia, it's humid a lot. And so every shower seems to be a steamy shower for whatever reason. But yeah, I can't say that happens. Now, if I've ever showered after my wife, I have to be prepared that the water is like to like skin melting temperatures, because she likes it super hot.
Hey, well, that's why she's married to you, sir. And that's all I'll say about that. Right? What a clever fellow I am. I want to apologize in advance for those listening to the podcast. You may hear a little bit of wheezing. I unfortunately, once again, got sick. My daughter had a competition last weekend. Everybody on my Patreon, they've already heard this because they already got a Patreon specific show. So I'm also going to share another bit of information they've already heard. but it'll be very quick, and it'll be the tech portion of the tech show that we allegedly run here. But my daughter had a dance competition / convention. So they go to classes and they have performances kind of thing. And it doesn't matter what protections you take. The common cold is just a mean bastard that gets through. So I still, to this date, have not had COVID. But once again, I just got over bronchitis, and now I think I've done enough to where my lungs didn't get irritated, and I'm not getting it again. But my hopes aren't very high at the moment. So I apologize for the wheezing in advance. Speaking of tech, Tony, you and I are both kind of running in weird parallels without even knowing it. So for those that don't know, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Tony, Mr. Marvelite on all social media, he is also what I would call a consistent content creator. He's always putting out some type of content. And I love his content. That's how we met. But one of the things that we seem to have both done at the same time is we started getting geared up for being able to shoot DSLR videos, both horizontal and vertical, in the real world. So using a digital mirror camera in order to take videos rather than our phones. And like Tony, you've got a full setup now. Because for the Nerd Initiative, for example, you guys are going to like C2E2 this year and other major conventions. You'll be shooting content. And I just happen to be doing the exact same thing at the same time. Not always, but recently I started shooting the show on a Canon EOS. I think it's a Mark II, M50 Mark II, or I don't know. The name is too long. It should just be a damn camera. But I got a microphone and I got this handheld thing for it because I wanted to shoot more content. But I also wanted to get to the point where I was not editing on my phone. I've been getting frustrated. No matter how good the tools are, it's limiting trying to edit video on your phone. So I was trying to get away from that. And then I ran into this issue where I couldn't find a good way to get the videos that I shoot from my phone to a computer for editing. And I got all this gear because I was frustrated. I set up iCloud and then tried to do a sync. I would connect my phone to either my MacBook or my PC, and all of the files. I mean, I've got a phone that's been collecting photos and everything else since 2012, I think. I had the first generation iPhone. I don't know how many of my pictures on the current phone are sticking around. Needless to say, I've got a lot. And then it just suddenly dawned on me, like an absolute, pardon my language, dipshit, after I accumulated all this crap to start. Like, I've literally got a quick release, that's the term, for my camera, so I can go between the tripod here on the desk and the handheld thingamajiggy real quick, right? Or I could turn that sideways if I wanted to try and do vertical video here.
Right.
All of this stuff. And then I realized I'm part of the Mac ecosystem. There's a little tool called AirDrop that will let you just select the files you want to send, and you can send them. And I'm a dipshit.
No, listen, especially if you use technology like PCs and stuff like that, you don't think about those things. You don't. And honestly, like, if I had a Mac PC that I did my editing on, I would do that with my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But typically what I have to do, because I use my PC more than anything else, and like for Nerd Initiative content, when we were filming on my phone, I would actually use Google Drive and I would just send an upload. Problem is, it takes hours for that because when we did New York Comic Con, we did like 4 days of content. And so I'm taking 4K video on my phone. We actually were doing one interview and had to stop mid-interview because my phone ran out of data or like storage space. So I had to go back in, delete old stuff, and then continue the interview. So that's why this is a nice little thing. You're talking about you're using the Canon. I actually have the Nikon Z30, which is designed. It's a mirrorless camera. It is designed for content creators. It's got this nifty little tripod that is definitely works really well for doing selfies and everything. And with Nikon, they do have a wireless bridge that you can send pictures and images and videos to your phone. But that's the problem. I don't want it to go to my phone. Like,
I want to go to something I can really edit on.
I honestly like. I really feel like there should be some type of wireless device that you can like take your SD cards, plug it into, and it automatically will send them to a cloud. Like that would be the.
Sorry, I got distracted by the chat because I think Zach ZB on in the chat is just pointing out that he wants to pet it, and it's so cute and mechanical. I'm wondering if he's talking about the microphone. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm looking at one too. It's over there on the camera. I can't show you guys, but yeah, it's stop petting your microphone while we're talking. It's unnerving.
Yeah,
it does look like a tribble on the top of your camera. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, but unfortunately, with like expensive devices, they don't automatically, repopulate or regenerate.
So it's
That'd
a
be
little
nice.
right. Anyway, so I felt so stupid about that, especially considering this is supposed to be a tech show, and I have consultancy businesses regarding technology, and my dumbass anyway. Let's move on from that. This is just going to be a quick one because I promised everybody there would be a podcast, and I'm trying to make good on it. It's what is it right now for me? It's 8:55 p.m. on Sunday night. There's still other stuff I have to do, which is fine because I think I also had a latte that I made here at home that I was sipping from like 4 to 5:30. So I'm probably good for a while. Anyway, in the world of nerd news, there's been a lot of stuff going on. And the first thing I kind of want to talk about is something that we haven't talked about, Tony. And that is the fact that there are a lot of people that have to be very careful on the internet right now if they are Marvel fans and they are looking forward to seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania because why, Tony?
So supposedly the script for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania that was being used for translation purposes was leaked online. And so whereas like rumors or anything or even like clips of the film and previous stuff like with No Way Home was a problem, we have an entire script. And if you don't want to be spoiled, you have to be very careful. Like, do not search like for stuff on Ant-Man and the Wasp, like, or else you're gonna find people with screenshots or a link to the files. So just don't do it.
Yeah, and we're really, excuse me, we're already in that point where we need to be mindful anyway because for all of our hubris here in the United States, typically we're not the first place to also get the movies now. So, like, for example, I didn't really pay attention to it, but when Trent and I were recording in the pre-week of Endgame, I think it was the night before we had recorded a podcast, and some jerk had dropped into the Facebook stream and dropped some spoilers in there. So we're already at that point where you have to be sensitive about online. The movie is about, I think it drops on the 17th, right? So we're 18
Opening
days out roughly.
16th, so yeah.
So let's just call it 18 days out. So we're already in that window. You have to watch out. And now with an entire script leak, the only thing I can think is that somewhere Kevin Feige's head has exploded. And at the same time, I think we also all have to admit, aside from the stuff that we saw leading up to No Way Home with pictures that turned out leaked about Garfield and the like being in the movie, this is the first time we've had actually a major leak on a Marvel film, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for just a moment because this is something that I've been thinking about that I haven't even done a video on TikTok about this because I just wasn't really in the mood for doing the whole, theoretical, what's going to happen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple theories, but we know that recently a studio was sued for providing a misleading trailer. Someone was in the trailer that was supposed to be, and they ended up not in the movie. And then some fans sued the movie for false advertisement. And we know that Marvel has always done bait and switches in their trailers. Most notably, I mean, I think the most commonplace one was in Infinity War, where we saw Hulk running with the heroes in Wakanda, and we know that didn't happen. Now,
I don't.
that was actually going to be a possibility at one point. He was supposed to break out of the Hulkbuster. They just changed course, but they left it be in there. And then like the same thing for like No Way Home. There was a point where you saw the villains like jumping toward Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And of course, you saw Lizard's head snap back, and people knew that they had edited the footage. What if Marvel allowed a fake script to be leaked that they did not authorize? Everyone that, would leak and everything else reads the script, thinks they know what's going on, and it has nothing to do with what's going to be in the movie. I mean,
I just muted myself. That's kind of what I'm hoping happened here, but yeah. I've been avoiding everything, so I'm okay with it. But it's that, and you bring up a good point though, Tony, because like my mantra used to be to this point that the Marvel trailers lie to us. They are flat out lies, and that was one of the examples you brought up, or the fact that in some of the promo footage, actually, if you think about it, even for Infinity War as well. One of the commercials for it included the conversation between Chris Pratt or Star-Lord and Tony Stark, and they kind of blurred everything else that was going on behind them for Titan. So, the trailers, they lie to us anyway. So I'm okay with that. But an entire script getting out, that bugs me. And it's just funny, though, because my wife always asks, why do you insist on seeing the movies the first day they're out? But that's the reason why, because I don't want anyone to spoil anything for me. I still have not seen The Way of Water. I'll wait for it to pop up on Disney Plus. I don't have any emotional investment in Avatar-ness, okay?
Nobody seems to care to spoil anything. Like, I have not seen anybody, like, literally, even the reviews of Way of Water, there's so much of that movie. People are like, it's okay, you just watch it. Don't even worry about it.
This is ZB again pointing out in the chat. Spoiler, Scott saves 20% on hygiene by switching to Native. No, we're not. Native's not a sponsor. We're not pushing them here. But I do use their products, and they're wonderful. Native, give me a call. So look out for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, Tony, one of the things I'm also noticing, that wonderful shirt that you're wearing there, is that a Roosevelt's, or is it just a...
Yes, this is a Roosevelt shirt.
That is a fine, fine shirt, and I'm glad it shows Rick and Morty, and it does not have anything on it that shows wonderful Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland, because that guy's... long story short, it seems like it's overall bad news. The domestic violence, potential of not kidnapping, but illegally... what is the term? They illegally detained them, or
like it was. What was it? I think it was just like illegally. I can't get it out of my mouth. Illegally detained, or I want to say it was something else that they did. But basically, they kind of held them hostage.
And domestic violence as well. So it's a bad scene, and everybody's cutting ties with them now. But that's
spoiler alert: the creator of Rick and Morty is more toxic than Rick.
I'm not surprised, though. And the reason why, and this comes off bad, but, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions here or assumptions, but everything I've seen of Justin Roiland in behind the scenes stuff, in general, I think there's the potential the guy may have alcohol or substance abuse issues, because a lot of obviously those things are bad, but then like some text exchanges also came out, and honestly, those came across to me like alcohol made really dumb decisions, unless he really is just that damaged in the brain. But I also think I think I actually just read recently, and one of the things I had noticed before I even heard about any of this stuff is that not the behind the scenes, but some of the episode recap material that they put together was airing on Adult Swim or online. And I noticed that after the 2020 season dropped, Roiland was not in any of those packages anymore. We weren't getting his opinion on what happened or what the story idea or the structure was. And I think I read in the news today that he also hasn't been welcome in the writer's room since 2020. So
these accusations that he's now under fire for, that's going on now, happened back in 2020. So I imagine the studio had to be aware of what was going on, and we're probably already separating themselves. I think this is like the lesson in a case study where you have a company like WB that has not done much in the realm of damage control with Ezra Miller, and they're still moving forward, and there's still, there's this rumor now of him, possibly going forward, which has got to be a Zaslav thing, because anytime you want to know like the Black Adam problems and all this other stuff, it has something to do with Zaslav. But they're not willing to make a decision with all of the stuff that's mounting against Ezra Miller, whereas Adult Swim and the Cartoon Network is obviously already taken steps and just more so became official, and saying we're done with them.
Yeah, as did Hulu as well, Hulu Fox Animation. So they're done. But the thing is, like, first of all, if he hasn't been in the writer's room, definitely did not interfere with show quality in relation to the last season of Rick and Morty. So there's some reassurance there. And in that same vein, it's just a matter of having to recast a voice actor. As long as they can capture the tone and the acting ability that Roiland may have had, they can do that. And actually, both you and I met through TikTok. Sean Kelly Says on TikTok is a guy who does a pretty darn mean. Here's him.
And he's actually in process of interviewing with them.
Okay, so this would be the updated Rick. I'm Rick Sanchez. Wubba-lubba-dub-dub.
Good enough for me. Good enough for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, he did say he had his first interview, but that's exactly my point. There's always somebody that can sound like somebody else. And his impressions, I could definitely deal with. When Kermit's have changed after the passing of Jim Henson, it kind of bugs me. And I always could tell when somebody was recast in a cartoon. But if he comes in and he can give the appropriate, because it's vocal acting. It's not just voicing. It has to be vocal acting.
Right.
If he's got the acting chops as well, I don't think we have anything to be worried about. That's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of things they're saying that, if you're going to be the voice actor, you got to be the voice actor for Rick Sanchez, for Morty, for Mr. Meeseeks, and honestly, he does a great job across the board for all of them. But I've loved how during this whole thing where they've separated from Josh Roiland and they're recasting, the voice actors on TikTok have like just come out of the woodworks, and if Sean Kelly gets this and is ends up being our Rick and Morty moving forward, it is a testament of how TikTok has basically affected our society in a way that I'm very thankful for. Listen, the government's maybe banning it on their government phones, which honestly, if most of the Congress are watching TikToks and not actually legislating, it's probably good they got rid of it off of the phones. And if we've got people that are just angry at TikTok for so many different things, it's good to hear the good stuff that comes out of it.
I'm just going to call him HCF because I don't want to say his screen name out loud, but he's pointing out HBO Max as a platform on fire. You know what? I think that's kind of true about almost everything that is going on in the HBO Max DC universe of things. But at the same time, like you alluded to Ezra Miller, they've got issues over there. And just when you think, especially considering we just got a new Shazam trailer, which I watched, and I liked the first Shazam movie. It was being pushed the first year I got to go to Comic-Con, so that naturally gave me an affection for it. So whether it its pluses or minuses, I was still able to enjoy the film. Kind of looking forward to the new one, but having sat in Hall H during the presentation for that, I'm not completely stoked for it. I could go either way. But they literally just dropped a trailer a couple days ago, right? And then, okay, we talk about the power of TikTok. Now let's revert back over to Elon's crazy world with the power of Twitter. Something you never expected to see, because Zach Levi I've heard in plenty of interviews, and he seems to be a source of positivity. He seems to be a person that wants to spread good in the world. He seems to be a person that, at least at the time I heard him interviewed, was strong Christian values, that kind of thing. And he even like had certain initiatives he had started. Like one of them was this key initiative where there would be keys with sayings on a chain. And the idea was you would get this and then you would give it to somebody else. So kind of spreading positivity and good messages through that. A lot of good in this guy's world, it seems. And then the only way I could describe this is, and I only found out about this because of TikTok, because apparently overnight last night or sometime in the last 24 hours, somebody, an account, which I think if you get into the account does not have what I would call positive messaging out there, and we'll just leave it at that, had made the comment of does anyone else, it was along the lines of, does anyone else think that Pfizer is an incredibly bad organization and is going to bring down the world? Zach Levi quote tweeted that and said, wholeheartedly agree or
hardcore yes.
Hardcore yes. Even better.
Yeah.
Hardcore yes. At which point, like, I don't know if anyone else has noticed out there, but there's been a little bit of, let's just say, controversy in some people's belief about vaccines and this and that. And so hardcore agree, although seeming to say something, is almost kind of vague tweeting as well. Because it's like, okay, well, wait a second. What do you mean here? But it doesn't matter because people from all sides took it however they wanted to. So you've got anti-vaxxers jumping on the bandwagon. You've got, people saying, oh, I'm disappointed in you. And then he tried to also say, this is kind of to my point, and showed a Justice Department memo from 2009 where because of unfair practices or improper disclosure of things or just marketing sugar water, I don't know, Pfizer had to pay, like at the time, a record settlement because of what they had done. And yeah, I think all pharmaceutical companies, there's good, there's bad. I don't trust major corporations anyway. They're not people, so you can't trust them. They're just a corporation. But I just know that there are PR people at DC right now that their heads have just exploded. They thought, oh, we just wrote out the Ezra Miller, nightmare, or they're still anticipating it, and they were expecting this nice, quiet, easy time with Shazam, and this happens. What's your take?
So here's the interesting thing. Like I have seen stuff on the other spectrum with perceptions of Zachary Levi Pugh. Last name is Pugh, middle name is Levi. He changed his name, or he used his middle name as his last in an attempt to get more roles when he first started off, and then made a comment not too long ago that kind of got a lot of like people of Hebrew descent, of Jewish people, upset because he was saying how he noticed that he lost a lot of roles because people thought he was Jewish, which was the way he said it was a little bit insensitive. And so there was that. And we're driving. My wife and I were out today, running errands. And I told her, I said, I get it. Let's get past, what he said. Do I think that there's a problem with big pharma? Absolutely. I think it's ridiculous that there are people in other countries that pay, nothing for certain medications, but in the United States we pay an exorbitant amount of money, vice versa. Life-saving medication, let's say like the EpiPen and everything else from different companies, should not cost as much as they do. That aside, he chose to get up and to respond to that message and leave it as vague as possible for anybody to like him or not like him. It's not a matter of him saying, Pfizer is a problem because of their price gouging or because of this or that. It's, when people think Pfizer, they think of the COVID vaccine, and so he consciously filled in for that. And I looked at my wife and I said, Are these people not rich enough that they have people that can like look at their texts or look at their tweets before they send them? It's like a drunk text feature, like making sure before I do this and ruin my career. This is like, I mean, it's like Roseanne Barr, and it's like, Gina Carano, and you have all of these people, and now you've got Zachary Levi, who, whether he agreed to do it or not, or he intended it for it to go this way. And then of course later on he posted that that settlement statement from 2009, and it's like, okay, yeah, but you still chose to not be clear enough and allow there to be this thing there, and you think people aren't going to be upset with you. And yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers, they're not going to get a break for a while. I feel bad for Gunn and Safran, because they're just sitting there like, what do we get into? Like,
well, and plus this whole thing is over a product that's before their tenure. Shazam is obviously had been in production for a while, and it's it's almost in a way kind of like the old regime finishing itself out. They've still got to deal with this. They've got to deal with the release of we just talked about it. Anyway, go ahead.
You think of it this way. It's like it was like, I can see like the executives at Warner Brothers like, well, at least Shazam has got nothing problematic with it. And Zachary's like, hey, hold my beer. Let me show you what I can do.
He's just like, you know what? They're talking about Ezra Miller all the goddamn time.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, it's my turn. Let's talk about me.
I want to hear more of my name, damn it. Yeah, it's times are weird. But you know what? I also, like, honestly speaking, I sent out a tweet earlier today because somebody I follow was getting some feedback from somebody else where they're like, well, this, that, and the other thing, so maybe don't do that kind of tweet. And they were being honest. They were just like, yeah, you might want to do that because I did this and I'm still dealing with it. And I sent a tweet that just said, you know what? I'm glad I'm next to nobody on social media, because at least I can joke about stuff and nobody gives a crap. And I think that is really telling, though. I think that there is a certain point you get to where, it's just like, is it going to be worth any potential hassle to have a presence on social media outside of the requirement that may be in place for me to promote the products that I work on? And so I'll have it just to meet those obligations. But other than that, I'm going to steer clear of it, because why introduce headaches?
Yeah. See, this is why, like, I'm 39 years old, and I look back at all of my life and my interactions with social media. And again, social media became a thing when I was a teenager. Like like you had AOL chat rooms. And of course that was when nobody knew what you were doing. And, you thought you were chatting with a 13-year-old girl, and it was actually like a 45-year-old man in his basement without wearing a shirt. And so you had this idea that, there were trolls, I was a 13-year-old kid, and you think this girl's interested in you, and it's this guy. And then you heard about kids like getting caught up and catfished by these people, and then being catfished was a thing. And then I remember for a long time, I was terrified about when people would say, oh yeah, I met this guy or girl that we're going to date online. And I just remember when Facebook became a thing, I'm like, wait, you can post your thoughts? I'm like, yeah, this is not going to be a problem anywhere. And then Twitter came into play, and you're like, wait a second. And then all of a sudden you find out that even the good people, like, their tweets are being brought up to, from 5 or 10 years ago. And you're like, what did I say before? And I'm just glad that through my immature youth, I was too afraid to post anything. And so I can look back on my like my digital footprint and be like, yeah, you know what? I was stupid back then, but at least I'm not publicly stupid. And there are people who have seen careers go down the drain, and they still post stuff now. It's like, where have you been the last 10 years? Yeah,
James Gunn got, like you mentioned, he got pulled down because of his old, and that's the one thing I've always at least had a common sense enough to know that outside of all of this social media and content creation nonsense, I still got a regular 9 to 5. I've still got to feed my family, and I can't take certain risks. So most of my things online are pretty much going to be vanilla. They're not going to really have any political indication. They're not going to have any social commentary outside of, joking about, oh, I'm going to check my file cabinet because odds are I've got confidential files probably. Where
have you been working?
Yeah, but other than that, no, it's too dangerous. It's too, and even at my level, honestly, I do still have to monitor things, but really at my level, I don't have to worry about what I do. But I think there's a certain point where but then again, let's face it, social media has also done one thing that I don't think anybody really anticipated, which was it was just going to help bring out the crazy, and it was going to help crazy find crazy, which is what it's done.
Well, it's funny though. Like, okay, so he's verified on Twitter, which means he's got Twitter Blue, which means before he sent that tweet, it asked him, "Are you sure you want to send this tweet?" And he still said yes.
Yeah, that's it. Like you said, there's a certain level. There should be. It's the concierge service. It's a concierge filter that runs as an AI, and it's like, because you're at this level, you're automatically now going to be filtered through this, and and it'll just say, okay, well, here are your red flags, and if you do this, you may be committing career suicide. Would you like to send? That'd be a great feature to add in.
Yeah. Well, if anything, if it gets worse and bad, he's got a job at Daily Wire, so he'll be set.
There you go. By the way, I said HCF. The guy in the chat, his screen name is Hot Creamy Fart. But the thing hold on. Now that's the screen name. But let me read to you the mastery of his comment. A good online name and reputation is important, and I take it very seriously. Touche, my friend, touche. Tony, it's late at night. Like I said, I still got to do things, but let's try and end on a positive note. You got any positive vibes we can send out there?
Oh, sheesh. You asked me about positivity. What in the world? I don't think I even know anything about it.
Well,
hey, you want to see a new Funko Pop I got?
Well, how about any interesting content you've seen online that just warmed your heart, maybe? No?
Are we on the same? No, I don't think we're. No, hold on. Now you got me thinking. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about something that's positive that's happened online. And I think it's something that it's not even anything new that anybody would not know about, and that is the complete gem of a man, Keith Lee. This guy who was a mixed martial artist, was doing social media stuff just because he was uncomfortable talking in public and everything. And so he starts going and reviewing, just food that he eats, and he's changing lives. And he was just on Good Morning America this last week. Like that is probably the most heartwarming. And yes, there was like some controversy for a person who told nothing under the sun is new. But the amount of people who just supported him and are just, they're going to these businesses and helping these businesses out, places that need it. And he's just humble about it. And I if you don't know Keith Lee, you need to go watch his videos, because literally, I was in my kid's room yesterday, and I'm like, hey, you have a Paw Patrol trailer. I need to borrow that for like a video. Because like everybody keeps like imitating him and stuff. And I so want to do it, but I want the Paw Patrol chair to sit in, because I think it would just be so much fun. Because he's got I just love the guy. And I'm glad that there are people like that on social media, because with everything else that's going on, it's good to see somebody making a difference.
It is, but it's also interesting when you look at it from an algorithmic standpoint, because I am aware of Keith Lee as well. If you guys aren't aware, as Tony mentioned, he's a person on TikTok who has gotten into food reviews, but his focus was to try and find the things that are the best that people aren't talking about, that are struggling businesses that we can try and help. And it has gone really well. He has helped businesses. They've gone from about to close.
And he pays for the food.
Yes, that's true too. He does not They don't know he's coming usually. He doesn't broadcast it. He buys his food himself, and it's always ridiculous. Like, I bought $95 worth of food. Let's test, and it's amazing what he's doing, and it is positive, and I love it. I think on one of the last shows we did, I also highlighted there was a Chicago suburban, oh God, I can't even remember what food they made, but that one, it was a similar type of thing. And it was like, first that happened, then I became aware of Keith Lee. And I don't think, he wasn't a part of that because he's in Vegas, but it's been an interesting phenomenon. At the same time, before I was aware of him, the algorithm on TikTok was trying to make me aware of him. So I always wonder at a certain point, do they start shoving content down our face because it's popular with other people? Or are they trying to are there actual people pushing these videos at TikTok as well because they want to try and build stars and phenoms so that they can get the press for it? I know that sounds depressing and sad, but as a person who has had random videos go not viral, but be very popular on that platform in unexpected ways, like shaking a robot gets me 1.2 million views, or taking my daughter to free Slurpee Day with large containers. Suddenly I got a 6 million view video. I don't understand how that algorithm works, but it really seems like TikTok seems to be building stars. And I'm interested to know under the hood how that's happening.
Yeah, and I honestly, I've not been able to crack it. I do know that if you guys aren't following, there's a guy, you've seen that guy, does a lot of anime content, and I feel like Yassine has cracked the code when it comes to building something catchy. Like, he immediately comes out with the hook of, is this character doing this for this reason? And then the whole video is explaining that, and it's very animated. It definitely has like a good look to it. He's doing really well on social media. He's actually gone full time in the content creation. I think that the algorithm does look for those well done videos that have that hook, because I think the algorithm is, I almost wonder if there's a way that it looks at videos, and if our video catches its attention, then it shares it for other people that would get the attention. I do believe that they are also building stars, but I've gotten to the point now where and I think we're kind of in the same boat. Like, this year has just been one where being motivated to make the content has been difficult in some cases. And I'm literally just making videos because I like them. Like, I found a TikTok account that does, it's literally ADHD content, but they're using videos for memes, and those audios are perfect for some of the stuff that I do. So I've been like saving audio files anytime I find them. And I'm like, when I'm bored or I just don't feel like making content, that's what I do. I do lip syncs, and I'm enjoying them. You're just never going to see me dance. It's not going to happen.
or doing, I'm never going to be doing a thirst trap. I'll let you know that right now. Well, you know what? I never take my own advice, and I always forget some of the basics. And I've said this 100 times on NetHeads, so my apologies to the longtime listeners or viewers, but I'm going to say it again. Long time ago, one of the people that created Mystery Science Theater 3000, Joel Hodgson, or if I butchered his last name, oh well. But what it was doing, they were doing like a behind the scenes package, or they were doing a special about Mystery Science Theater 3000. And one of the things that he said that they decided in their writer's room was that they weren't going to try and make this show for everybody. They were going to make a show, and the right people would find it. And that's really the only thing it should be about if you're doing content online. You should be doing it for you, and then the right people will find it. And it may not be as big an audience as you want, but it's yours. And let me tell you something, folks. As a person that's been at this game for an embarrassingly long amount of time, I almost liken myself now to the Ed Wood of online content creation. I'm going so long, I'm killing my lights, my batteries. But I've been going longer than that as well. I can tell you that there are always ways to at least make a little side hustle out of even your micro audience, or more to the point too. You could just have fun with them. Because a lot of this stuff that I do, like my wife asks, why do you do this? And for me, this is kind of like my therapy. As a matter of fact, I always come out of a podcast recording session feeling great. I don't know if it's because I'm expelling so much, because I feel like I talk all the time anyway. But I always come out of this feeling really happy. And I, when I do a video that comes together the way I saw it in my head, I feel happy. So if that's what you're looking to do, folks, if you're looking to get into content creation in any way, just start doing what you want to do. And then if it's not coming together the way you want, seek advice from other people, but still do you, because that's all you can do. And then, as time goes on, you'll get a hook here or there, and then you'll figure out what you really like. That's just me.
My favorite videos have always been the ones that after I've created them, I will sit and watch them over and over again. And it's because it makes me happy. Now, the worst thing you can do afterward is then go back and look at the analytics the next couple of days after. Don't do that. Just make what makes you happy. And yes, there is a dopamine. It's being able to create something. It's being able to do something. I'm grateful. I know that there may have been a time in my life where I was much more polished when it came to me talking and explaining things and doing large group settings. And I don't know if it was the pandemic or it was even before the pandemic because of like us moving and like my social structure, out like in real life changed. And so I kind of lost a little bit of that. And doing this has been bringing that back for me. And I think that's what it is. It's that really claiming something, seeing that you've created something and that you're a part of something, and then just being proud of what you did. There's definitely got to be a dopamine, boost there for that.
Well, and I mentioned, like, I've been lucky enough to have a few videos hit. Let's just put it that way. But at the same time, I'm very humbled by, for example, TikTok and YouTube, because somehow, and I'm congratulations, by the way, because the Nerd Initiative channel has exceeded over 5,000 subscribers now, right?
Yeah, we're at I think we're at like 6.6K.
Good job. See, I've been going for however long, and I'm at like 3.4. But I'm thankful for every one of the people that has subscribed to the channel. When it comes to TikTok, I'm thankful for all 144 plus thousand followers I have. And so if I'm like, I made a video because somebody sent me some coffee and I reviewed the coffee, and over 300 people or close to 300 people have watched that video. And I'm thankful for everyone that watched it and for the people that liked it, because all I'm doing is just doing this. So that's the important thing. You always got to focus on just appreciate the people that you have, and others will come or they won't. It doesn't matter. Do it for you. But you know what?
Exactly.
You also got to keep in mind what's important. And right now I'm looking at the clock. It's 9:32 my time, and I know I got an 8-year-old that's got to go to bed. So Tony, I think we got to wrap this up. And I'm sorry. Okay. I know this is an abridged show, but considering you stepped in at the last moment, I thank you very much. And I hope you will accept an invitation to come back again in the future.
I will be willing to come back anytime and every time you want me. So don't even worry about it.
All right. Well, in that case, folks, look forward to at least weekly podcasts of NetHeads. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I am not. I don't know how Trent has put up with me for 12 years now, but Tony, you really might want to rescind that. I'm just saying. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for listening. If you listen to the podcast ever, thank you. You want to comment on the show, it's #NetHeads on Twitter. You can throw the comments here. Also, don't forget NetHeads on Air on Patreon. If you want to be one of our Patreon subscribers and get some unique stuff, whether it's shows, some 3D prints or the like that I'm distributing to our higher tiers, you got that option as well. And don't forget also, on all social medias, Mr. Marvelite, MARVELITE. He's not Marvelite, he's a Marvelite, as in a follower of Marvel, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing. It took me this long to figure that out. I literally just put two and two together right beforehand.
When I first started using this handle, everybody kept calling me Marv, and I'm like, no, they were like, oh, it's Marv Elite. I'm like, no, it's not. No, I'm not a gamer. No,
and thank you very much to HCFZB, Ron in North Carolina, I think it was, and Kindred Nerds United for joining us live as well. Until next time, folks, my name is Will.
I'm Tony.
And we'll be back soon.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins. And this is NetHeads with Will Wilkins. Signing off. I know, right? But stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads. NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
In case you're wondering where the confusion was there, folks, because I saw a confused look on Tony's face, I've got a closing that's me and Trent, and then I've got a closing that's just me. So that's what that was, Tony. Okay?
Oh, it's fine. I got it.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you, sir.